Well, with me is Tom Burke, chairman of E3G, third generation environmentalism. Tom, thanks very much for coming in.
Morning.
I mean, it does feel as if we've gone into a bit of a sort of a period of lull in terms of momentum, doesn't it? And how do you turn that round?
Well, I think what matters about the proposed suggested increase in emissions this year is whether it's a blip or whether it's an actual change in the trajectory. Now, the trajectory has been ahead of what is needed to get us onto the right path to stay below 2 degrees, because it's leveled now, peaking now rather than in 2020 when it needs to peak. So we'll see whether there's a blip or not.
Because the warnings at the moment from like the World Meteorological Organization are pointing the other way, aren't they? I just wonder, are we at a point where political will is the most important thing, or actually business will? And in a sense, there is a clear shift, isn't there, in terms of interest in renewables?
I think that's absolutely right. I think what we saw when Trump pulled out of the climate agreement, the very same day we saw BlackRock and State Street publicly vote against Exxon's board for not having done enough to assess climate risk. So I think on one side the investment community is really beginning to get a sense around the risks of the kind of events we've seen all through this year and what they will do for business. And on the other side, we're seeing a massive increase in investment in renewables by opportunity seekers. People simply saying out there, the world's made its mind up, it's on its way to a low carbon economy, they want a piece of the action.
Yeah, and that may be true, and certainly within Europe you can look at, you know, established economies working out the best thing to do. But if we do reflect, as they were there, back on China, on India, where there's still so much growth still to come, and they need power now, they will carry on using coal, and not necessarily the cleanest coal. They'll have to carry on using oil, etc.
Well, what we've seen actually very interestingly in China is it started to cut back on it, had massive programs for building new coal-powered power stations. It's cutting those back. It's cutting its emissions. There was a drought this year, which is why there's been a bit of an increase, because they lost hydropower. But much more importantly, it is by far and away the country that's investing most in developing the renewables and looking to see that as a massive opportunity for exports going forward. What you're seeing in India, again, similar thing. You're seeing growth in coal use in India actually slow down quite a lot more than was expected. And again, big investment in renewables, as they see that as the fastest way to get electricity to India's poor.
Well, there's the voice of an optimist, I hope. Tom, thank you very much.